All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 or Web Development Technologies class, I've been starting to go through this Learn Web Development series from Mozilla.org. So far, I'm in the complete beginner, so getting started with the web. And so far, I've gone over the installing basic software and the what will your website look like. So I'm up to dealing with files. So we're going to go through that and then quickly talk HTML basics, CSS basics, JavaScript basics, publishing your website, how the web works, etc. So we're going through this pretty much in order. All right, this is meant to be a very, very high level overview. So again, we've gone through the installing basic software and what will your website look like. And now we're up to the dealing with files, which is, well, right there. All right. So as mentioned, a website consists of a lot of different types of files. What I'm about to show you right now is a way of setting your system up. And to me, at least, it's the most natural way of setting the system up. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go into my desktop, and under my desktop, I'm going to create a brand new folder. We can call this, of course, whatever we want. Let's see. I'm just going to call it, this may change, but for now I'm going to call it I Love Mo. All right, I love Missouri. Okay, so for right now, that's gonna end up becoming the name of the site. Okay, all right. So inside of here, we're going to have a lot of different kind of files. The first type of file that we're going to create, actually, we're either going to create it in this video or the next one, are what are called our HTML files. HTML, of course, is an acronym for Hypertext Markup Language. Don't worry about what it means right now because we're going to be going through it. All right. But typically, you don't put HTML files in their own folder. Okay. You just leave them on the fringe, so to speak. But we're also going to have at least 3 other types of files. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it CSS. In there, we will put 1 or more cascading style sheet files. What are those files? Well, first of all, they'll have to end with an extension. So they'll have to end with a dot or a period, CSS for cascading style sheets. They will allow us to add aesthetics to our website. So it'll be the way that we're able to go in and take the content and format it in the way we want. When I say format, I mean aesthetically. Change colors, etc. All right. So our HTML files are going to contain our content. All right. And our CSS files are going to allow us to do formatting of that content. And then we'll want to bring some interactivity into this. So we'll create another folder called JS for JavaScript. Those files will end with .js, again, for JavaScript. All right, and those files will allow us to provide some interactivity for the site. Finally, the last type that we're going to have, we'll hold our images. Typically, you either call this IMG for images, IMGS, but I'm just going to call it what it is, which is images. So right now, this is my file structure, all right? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and I will go into, because I promised I was going to use Visual Studio Code. Oh, I don't want that. That's Visual Studio. I want Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to come in here and what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to have everything that's in this folder that I just created right here, this thing called I Love Mo. I want it to be available inside of Visual Studio. And there's different ways that I can do that. All right. One way is I can just right mouse click on this. And no, it doesn't allow me to do it that way. So we'll do it this way. Totally fine. All right. So notice it's on the desktop and it's I Love Mo. So in here, in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to say Open Folder, go to my desktop, and find I Love Mo, and open it. And you'll notice I now have available to me my CSS folder, my images folder, and my JS folder. All right, well, what I want to do in here is I just want to quickly create a file just so you can see something in here. And I'm going to call this file index.html. That's typically what you call your homepage. All right, now, for now, I'm going to cheat a little bit. And what do I mean when I say I'm going to cheat a little bit? Well, what I want to be able to do is to get something up on the screen to show you here quickly. So normally I would type in a bunch of stuff, but there's a shortcut built into Visual Studio Code that if I put in an exclamation point and hit tab, it starts to fill in stuff for me. All right. Do you have to care about this? No, but I want to just show you a couple things. All right. Now, what do I mean? Well, right in here, this is going to be called I Love Mo, and this will be our homepage. Okay? You'll see this in just a minute exactly what I mean by this. And if you remember when we looked at this, our homepage had what? It had these things here, home, about, gallery, and contact, and it had the word homepage here. So I'm going to create what I just showed you, and I'm going to create this stuff in here. All right, but it's going to look quite a bit different. It'll look the same eventually. All right, but for now, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, I want to create what's called an unordered list. Oops. All right, and that's going to contain list items. And I'm going to have in here, let's see. All right, I'm going to show you exactly what this will look like in a minute. But this will hold all four of our pages. So we've got home. What else did we say we have? We would have an about page. We would have a gallery page. And we would have a contact page. So we'll have to change these accordingly to about, gallery, and contact. All right. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in what's called an H1 tag. And I'm just going to have this say homepage. And then I'm going to put in a paragraph. All right. And this is garbage text. So don't worry what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. But I'm going to type in here lorem 100. Okay. And that's just going to give me 100 garbage words for lack of better words. All right. And I'm going to come in here. All right, so now I actually have got the beginning of a home page in here. It's going to look pretty ugly, and don't let that worry you one way or the other. Now, I'm going to do a file. In fact, just do a Control S to save. So I've saved everything now. And I want to run this. The hard way of running it is to go back out, go out to where I just was, find the I Love Mo, there's my index, and double click on it. And there's my website right now. And again, it looks terrible. It'll look better as we go on. So don't worry about that. Again, I can make it see what it would look like if it was a little bit bigger, etc. All right. But I want to leave it for now at 100%. So there it is. Now, if I click on any of these, I'm going to get errors because I don't have a file that's called about yet, or one called gallery yet, or one called contact yet. All right. Can I fix that? Well, the easiest way for me to fix that for right now, just so I can bounce back and forth between these things, is I'm going to take my index and I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it 3 times. And the first one, I'm going to come in here and just call this about. The next one, I'll come in here and I'll call this gallery. And my last one, I'll come in and I will call, whoops, I didn't want that. I'm going to call this contact. Now I'm going to have to make changes, of course, But just so you can now see what we have, if I go back again, now notice if I refresh my browser, I can go to About or Gallery. Oh, still doesn't like Gallery. Oh, because I put Galley here. Okay, I'll have to fix that. And Contact. There you go. And you might say, you didn't do anything. I've done a lot already. So this says Gallery, but I'm going to have to, I guess I spelled it as Galley inside of here. So I'll have to change that. No biggie, really. All right. So I'm going to jump back into here and into here. And the reason I showed you this is what I've just done is I chose the place to store my website project. I created a folder. I called it I Love Mo. And inside of there, I created a bunch of other folders. Now in here, they have you create a folder called Test Site for your first website, which is totally fine as well. All right. It says an aside on casing and spacing. What you're going to notice is I'm going to do virtually everything we work on, almost everything, in lowercase. Also, I'm not going to put blank spaces when I'm creating things, or very rarely will I create blank spaces. What I'm talking about is when I name things. All right. So notice, what structure should your website have? Should this look a little familiar? Index.html, that was my home page, an images folder, a styles folder. I called mine CSS. We could have called it styles. A scripts folder. I called mine JS. We could have called it scripts. All right. We're going to have to make sure that our files are going to be able to come in and talk to one another. So as it says right there, we're going to have to work with what are known as file paths. What does that even mean? Well, let's pretend for a second. In fact, I'll actually do it. So I'm going to come back into here. And where are we? And, whoops, I don't know why I keep pressing the wrong one there. I'm going to move this one over to the end so I press the right one. So notice that says Galley. That's why that gallery didn't work. So I want to fix all of those. So that one's now fixed. Under the About, no, that's not my dog. That's the neighbor's dog making noise, if you can hear that in the background. The Contact. And let's see. So that's fixed. They're all now fixed. Good. All right. Let's actually set it up so that if you go from page to page, it at least looks a little bit different. So here's my About. I'm going to change this to About. And I'm going to put here About page. And save it. I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to type in here Contact. And I'm going to type in here Contact page. And save it. And I'm going to come into here. And I'm going to type in Gallery. And I'm going to type in here Gallery. All right. So now I've got all that stuff. Let's go back to where we just were. And this is my I Love Mo. And I'm going to refresh. So now notice I'm on the Contact page. I'm on the Gallery page. I'm on the About page. I'm on the Home page. And I can go from any one page to any other page. Of course, we're going to make this look a lot nicer. But what I want to show you right now very quickly is one other thing. And that is I'm going to come into my CSS folder here. All right, so in here, I want to create a new file. And I'm going to call it styles.css. Okay, there it is. It's inside, you can see, of my CSS folder. And all I'm going to put in here, I don't expect any of this to make sense to you, but I'm going to put in background, color, and let's just put in red. All right, so we got red. Now, if I go back to my files that I've been showing you, nothing is going to look a lick different. Nothing will look different. All right, it's going to kind of look bad with red background in just a minute. So we'll make the writing white. So I'm going to say here, color white. Okay. Now, so how do I get this to even show up on my screen? Well, I'll show you here on the index page. Up in my head section, Now, you may or may not have noticed this, and I should have shown you this before. Shame on me for not showing it to you. But when you look here, you may or may not be able to tell. This says, I love Mo. And if I put my mouse over it, look down here, it says contact. Here it says, I love Mo gallery. Here it says, I love Mo about. And here it says, I love Mo home. All right. Should you care? Well, what I want to show you, the reason that you should care is that's this thing right here. That's the title. The title is in the head section here, which means it doesn't appear directly on the page. What's in the body section here is what appears on the page. All right. But I want to do one more thing in my head section here is I want to put in a line of code, and I want it to say CSS slash styles.css. Now, what did I do? I just made that style sheet that we just created that made our background red and our color white. I just added it to my home page. So how do I know that it even worked? Well, notice I'm on the home page. Nothing changed, but if I refreshed, it would. So here's contact, no change. Gallery, no change. About, no change. Home, big change. All right. So I'm going to do one more thing just to kind of hammer this home to you. And that is I'm going to come back into here and I'm going to make one more change in this styles file. I'm going to say font size to rem. I'm just making my font size bigger. How do I know that? Well, if I come back to here, it doesn't look any bigger until I refresh, and now it's a lot bigger. All right. Now I want this same thing to take place on the other pages. And in order to do that, I have to go in and grab that line and I have to copy it to the other files. And save. I'm just doing a Control S to save on here. And all right, now if I go back again and I refresh, notice home, about, gallery, and contact. They've all been updated, so to speak. All right, so what I tried to show you quickly in this particular lesson, that was the file path. And it said that if I wanted to go in and actually use that CSS file, I had to let it know that it lived in the CSS folder. And underneath the CS folder, it was in a file called styles.css. What else should be done? It says this is about it for now. This is what it should look like. Well, if you look, this is what theirs looks like right now. And if I bring mine up, I'm going to make this smaller. Try to make it about the size they have it. So they've got a styles folder, mine is CSS. They've got an images folder, so do I. They've got a scripts folder, I call mine JS. They've got just an index.html file. I've got that file plus a contact.html file plus a gallery.html file plus an about.html file. So I've got all of that stuff in there. All right. So let's see. We just finished the dealing with files. So far in this, what we've done in here is I've gone through installing the basic software, talking about what your site will look like, and we just are finishing up with the dealing with files. So next we go into HTML basics. This is going to take a while. This will not be one lecture. All right. But since it is just an overview, we're going to take it nice and slow. And don't worry if it doesn't totally make sense right now. It probably shouldn't, to be honest with you. And it'll make more sense, I believe at least, as we go on. So I'll be back to give you some HTML basics in just a couple minutes.